All right, so my name is Matthew. I'm a former Marine. Um, I didn't really see this in my 2026 um, bingo card, but here we are. And I don't mean this to be talking shit or like a hit piece on Valhalla VFT or Jon Bray and Trigger Smart were the three people in this live stream. But I was watching that live stream the other night and I noticed that this just doesn't work. That's not how shape charges work. Um, let's real quick see how Jon Bray explains the shaped charge that he has in this diagram.
And a cylinder with a charge at the end of it, and it has a cone outer case of which is ABS plastic, which is
Okay,
the larger fragment that we see everywhere.
sorry about
And so
that.
that is responsible for the trajectory, the energy we see displaced in the shirt
All
and
right,
the
so he's
foam.
talking about this right here.
And
This
then
is the shape
obviously the
charge itself.
fragmentation
This
of
is
the main
just another
case and
component
the power
inside
that
of the
launched the
microphone.
circuit board and the battery across his chest.
All right, so for people that are in chat, they're asking, so what is the red and what's the blue?
The blues is a
Oh, we
part
haven't got
of
there yet.
the actual components. The red is the actual shape charge. So it's just
That's
it's
this
a
right
cylinder
here,
with a charge at the end of it, and it has a cone.
and then here,
The
right
idea
here.
is that it uses the Moreau effect, where you're basically taking a
All right, so let's go look at the Monroe effect because it's a little bit. Let's see where that's at in here. This here book. Oh my goodness. Monroe effect 22 or 12. Monroe effect. So the hollow cavity was rediscovered by Charles Monroe at the Naval Torpedo Station. He detonated bricks of explosive in contact with steel plates. So essentially, um, you have to have that hollow cavity. So this is your target, and this is your explosive. This is what the hollow cavity looks like. This is not a hollow cavity, and it won't work with the Monroe effect. Um, I have a problem with that because I don't want to be mean, but he clearly didn't use the Monroe effect. He clearly didn't. Because if he did, he'd know it has to be like that. It can't be like that unless it's going this way. And then the charge has to be over here, which doesn't make any sense with this diagram. And again, I don't want to be mean. I'm not trying to call anybody. I am trying to call people out, but I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to talk shit or, as Barron says, savage him. I'm just trying to say that he is wrong.
explosion, and you're instead of allowing it like a traditional frag where it's going to go radially, it's going to explode in all directions. This is channeling all that explosion into a stream, so it gives it a path to escape, but it's a narrow path that cones out. And so as it speeds up through this cone, this it's basically like
Okay, so what he just said is correct. What he just said is correct. It cones out. When I think of a cone, the outer part of the cone is going to be the wider sides. It cones out, not in. That in my opinion would be coning in. It cones towards the target, which is not correct. Okay.
a nozzle. It's going to start to pull material from the cone, and that adds like aggregate to the jet stream, and that's what gives it.
Okay, so we'll just stop it right there. So that is not how it works. Back to fundamentals of uh, shape charges. So what happens is here. So this is the casing. So the outer. Let's go over here. So this is the casing, right? Aluminum casing, and obviously this is not going to be to scale of what he's trying to do. I understand that what I'm showing you is a lot larger, and but I don't think it's going to be much different. And I could be wrong, and I'm willing to be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. So you have your casing here, which going back, or so here, this would be your casing, this red bit. So this would be your casing here, and then we have our drawn copper lining, or liner, and that would be what this cone here. And so what happens is then you have your explosive and your detonator, which can be either a blasting cap or det cord. And then back over here. So what happens is the liner, as the explosion happens, it collapses. So if we come over here, a cylinder a cylinder of explosive with a hollow cavity on one end and a detonator at the opposite end is known as a hollow charge. A hollow cavity, which may assume almost any geometric shape, such as a hemisphere or a cone or the like, causes the gaseous products formed from the initiation of the explosive at the end of the cylinder, opposite of the hollow cavity, to focus the energy of the detonation products. The focusing of the detonation products creates an intense localized force. When directed against a metal plate, this concentrated force is capable of creating a deeper cavity than the cylinder of explosive without a hollow cavity. So, and then it's known in the United States and the United Kingdom as Monroe effect. So essentially, if the hollow cavity is lined with a thin layer of metal, glass, ceramic, or any solid, the liner may form a jet when the explosion is detonated. Certain criteria related to the charge geometry, explosive and liner properties are satisfied. Upon initiation, the spherical wave propagates outward from the point of ignition. This high pressure shock wave moves at a high velocity, typically around a lot really fast. The detonation wave engulfs the lined cavity. The material is accelerated under high detonation pressure, collapses the cone. During this process, depicted in Figure 1, that's this one, the liner material is driven in a violent, very violent distortions over very small time intervals at strain rates of really fast. Maximum strains greater than 10 can be readily achieved. Some other stuff, right? So the collapse of the conical liner material, the center line, forces a portion of the liner to flow in the form of a jet, where the jet tip velocity can reach really fast. The presence of a velocity gradient, the jet will stretch until it fractures into a column of jagged particles. Oops. Okay, so what that's saying essentially is this cone inverts. The explosion causes this cone to invert, which then causes it to stretch and create a whole bunch of jagged particles, much like the EFP, like Valhalla was saying in his initial video on this subject. So if we see right here, this little diagram, that's essentially kind of what happens, but it's a little bit different. EFP and a shaped charge. Okay, so again, this is a diagram of a shaped charge. It's essentially causing that copper, metal, glass, ceramic liner to create what's called a super plastic, which is almost a liquid, but not really. And that's what shoots through the material you're trying to go through and make your big hole in it. This is diagrams of heat projectiles. So it's a high explosive anti-tank artillery projectile is what this is. And so it has the same conical shape this way. This is just a false, essentially a false nose cone. So generally for like a RPG round, the detonator is up here, not the detonator, whatever, you know what I'm saying. So it initiates the detonation from up here, which causes the primer to explode, which explodes the actual explosive material inside of it, and then this cone does our jetting, which pushes through the armor. Okay, and then on to the EFP, which is what Valhalla VFT reference to as calling it very similar, which it is. However, it is different. So it's designed, the liner is not designed to jet. It's not designed to create this projectile, which is used to punch through tanks, like he said. Here is the Army's field manual on explosives, the FM 334.214. That is explosives and demolitions from July 2007. And this is the Army, at least the old Army's field manual on explosives and demolitions. And we're a little bit low. So this is a prepared shape charge. This is what a shape charge would look like. Getting it out of, getting it from uh, the people, getting it from the army itself. Okay. And this is designed, characteristics, also. So it's used some block in a conical cavity in one end that directs the lining material of the cone into a narrow jet to penetrate materials. So this is the Army's thing telling you what it is, okay? And then this is a improvised shape charge. This is what I've made in the past. We've never had these prepared ones. We've always had the improvise. We've always made the improvised ones. And essentially what we did was we got like a plastic cap for what I believe was like the tube the laws come in. We drilled a hole into it, put some det cord into it, tied an overhand knot or two onto it, and then packed it full of C4. And then we used a small piece of copper, which we molded into a semi dome cone shape with some like multi-tools or Gerbers, whatever you want to call it, which really wasn't that great. Again, we were really just doing it for the instructive purpose. So I was actually an AIC, which is Advanced Infantryman course in the Marine Corps. And this is kind of sort of what we made. And then you have to have the standoff, just like Jon Bray said in his original video with Trigger Smart. You have to have the standoff, which has to be 1.5 the diameter of the cone. So whatever the diameter of this cone is, this from here to here has to be 1.5 the distance of that. Okay, so 1.5. And this is the same thing. You have to have a cone. You can't have, let me go back to this picture. You cannot have this cone facing the other direction or it will not work. You'll just have a bomb, which I think would work. I think if this is just a solid hunk of metal, this would still achieve the purposes, but it's not a shaped charge. It's not even necessarily a directional fragmentation charge or EFP like Valhalla said. It is just a bomb with a freaking hunk of metal strapped to the end of it. Okay. Now Valhalla can talk all of his shit he wants. I don't particularly care. Again, I'm not doing this to talk shit about him or say that they are just they're feeding us false information, but it feels like that. It feels like that because Valhalla should have known when Jon Bray showed him this image and said, "This is what's going on." The Green Berets, this is just AI, Google AI, this could be wrong, but it says that they should have very good knowledge on that right there, shaped charges. Advanced classroom and live drills on calculating, placing, and detonating various explosives, C4, TNT, dynamite, and shaped charges. So he should have known, in my opinion. He should have called him out right there, been like, that's not how that works. You should fix this. And I don't know, I've posted on X, on the actual picture itself. Oh, well, we're getting rid of that. So I commented on it and said, look at my post. This is just not right. Here I tagged all of them. These two people included. Valhalla is not on X from what I understand, so I didn't tag him. And then I said, that's from I put this picture on there and explained that science and shit, and it causes the jetting and also a slug. So the back end of this is going to come out also, and it's going to essentially just be like a slug, this part. Okay. So I told them that they are wrong, and I don't know if they've seen it or not. I don't know if they're doing anything to fix it or not, but this picture is still up. I think it should be taken down because if you're giving false information, as soon as the people that are trying to discredit us as people who believe this theory, which I do, I think it makes sense. I'm not saying that it's the correct one, but I think it makes the most amount of sense out of all the theories that we've had. So the people that are going to be trying to discredit us are going to say that this is stupid, this wouldn't even work, because it won't. It literally won't do what he's saying it's going to do. That's not how shape charges work. Um, Look, I mean, we're reading it right here. This isn't how this works. Um, and this is the book he said he used. So clearly, and again, I don't want to sit here and say that, I know more than everybody else. I'm definitely not an expert. I've made shape charges once or twice. According to Valhalla, I don't even have the right to say anything because I haven't been to a live combat zone. All of my explosives knowledge is from the classroom and then live ranges. So, I mean, I could just be an idiot, but I really genuinely think that they are wrong and they need to fix it because it's just not right. Um, they need to come out and say, "Hey, we fucked up. This ain't right." So, and I could be wrong. And even so, the way he describes it is it would just come out at the end, but it wouldn't. I mean, we've seen videos on Valhalla's channel when he first did the live stream talking about it, where he was the whole thing explodes, but this part does this, right? So all of this, all of that is going to be gone whenever you detonate it. It is going to be 1,000% all gone. Okay? It is going to have a happy plate, and so it's not going to have time to cause this. I mean, almost like a torch is what he's saying it's going to do, which this isn't how it works. That's not what the Monroe effect says. That's not what any of this stuff is. So I just, again, I don't think that the theory is wrong. I think the theory's right. It's the only reason I'm making this video is because I want them to know that what they're giving us, this right here, is impossible. This cannot work. They need to invert the cone, and then they have a lot less room for charge. So, it's just going to be a bomb strapped to his chest. I think I'm at the point where I'm just rambling, so I'm going to get off of here. But please share this with them. Get them to see this so they can fix it. I'm sure that Valhalla is going to talk so much shit because he does that, which I don't care. I don't mind. I'm probably never going to post another video again. But he is wrong. Jon Bray is wrong. This will not work as a shaped charge. This will not work as a shaped charge. Ever. It's not a torch. It's not going to funnel through this. This thing is going to go fucking absolutely nuclear and just fucking pew off into the distance. It's just going to go way off into whatever direction it goes, which could be in a Charlie. And it might work. It might do what they wanted it to do, but it's not going to work as a shaped charge. This is not a shaped charge. This is just an explosive with a hunk of what he believes to be plastic on the end of it, essentially. A polymer, not necessarily plastic, but, plastic. So, and also, this, you might be able to use plastic, but I don't know. It doesn't say plastic. It does say any solid, so maybe plastic would work. I don't think so, but maybe. I think your money's on metal or glass or ceramic is going to be where your money's going to be at on getting shape charges to work. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know more than them, but I can say that I can read, and this says that they're wrong. So, um, you know, and this is, just more about shaped charges here. See, so it collapses and creates this jet. That's what it looks like. Um, so, yeah. I don't know. I feel bad for making this video, but it needs to get out there. They need to correct this. They need to fix this. It's not going to jet the way they expect it to. And I hope that this gets to them. I hope you guys share it. I don't care if you like it. It would help them see it, or you could just share it with them a whole bunch of times. I don't care if you subscribe. In fact, don't, because all I do generally is make shitty gameplay videos of shitty video games when I'm not at work. So, you know, whatever. Yeah, all right. Well, y'all have a phenomenal morning, eve, day, or night, whatever time it is. I don't really know, don't really care. Please share this with Valhalla VFT, Trigger Smart, or Jon Bray so that they can see it and they know that they need to correct what they're saying. Thank you so much. Have a good night.